Hey guys, Dr. Mike Giselle here for Renaissance Periodization and Juggernaut Training Systems. Hey guys, Dr. Mike Giselle here for Renaissance Periodization and Juggernaut Training Systems. Time for huge triceps, or in any case, tricep hypertrophy tips. So just basically a general background of stuff you need to concern yourself with. In the comments section, in the bottom of this video, there's going to be a link to the hypertrophy training guide that we have on RP. Super in-depth with tons of clickable exercise demonstrations, all the good stuff in detail. Here's just a general view. So let's start at the most important part. Volume guidelines. Maintenance volume for triceps you'll see is written as 0 to 4 sets, working sets of tricep work per week. That's what it takes to keep your triceps the same size if, for example, you're focusing on making other parts of your body bigger and putting triceps on the back burner. 0 to 4, that's kind of strange. What does that mean? Why could it be 0? How can you maintain a muscle with 0 working sets? Well, it's direct working sets. If you have a lot of pressing in your program, especially a lot of close grip pressing for the chest, overhead presses for the shoulders, then you can have enough stimulus to not lose any tricep size, even if it's no direct tricep work. But for individuals that tend to have triceps that have faster decay rates, or some individuals maybe, in certain other genetic ways different, they may have to have a minimum of 4 sets of tricep work per week. That's working sets per week to keep them the same size. It's just a really small number, and the reason is because most programs involve presses for chest, for shoulders, that give you some tricep stimulus as well. Minimum effective volume, the least amount of volume it takes to grow muscle, typically between 2 and 6 sets. Again, the range is because if you have lots of presses in your program, you can grow triceps with just 2 direct sets of tricep work. I know it's super crazy, but it actually does work. If you have less pressing in your program, or just for genetic reasons, you might need up to 6 sets to really start to see growth in triceps. Maximum recoverable volume, about 12 to 18 sets. Again, the big range is because if you have lots of presses, especially overhead presses and close grip work in your program, your ability to survive 18 extra sets of triceps might not be like 12 extra sets of triceps because you already have so much work. But if the pressing in your program is minimal or on the low side of things, maybe you do a lot of flies for chest, or you're really backing off on chest work and shoulder work, it might be as many as 18 sets of triceps per week. Some people higher, some people lower. Of course, these are just averages, which means that in most programs, most of the time, 10 to 14 sets is going to be around your maximum adaptive volume. That's probably around the range on average. Now, you're going to start lower than that and work up higher in every men's cycle that you're going to want tricep growth. What about exercises? Next up, generally speaking, the best exercises for triceps are some variation of skull crushers. That's whether or not you do them with a bar, easy bar, machine. You can do them actually leaned over on a bench, on a Smith machine. So you basically, the bench press equivalent of a push-up, that's going to be the equivalent of a skull crusher. And then some variation of overhead extensions, be it with a cable, be it with a barbell, be it with dumbbells, and some variation of dips. Now, of course, cable pushdowns do make the list. They're kind of like a really weirdly angled skull crusher. They do make the list, but the reason I introduce you guys to these exercises here is because a lot of you already know the pushdown. And the thing is, a lot of people just know the pushdown. So when you're like, how are your triceps? Like, oh, I really want them to improve. What have you been doing? Well, I've been doing a lot of pushdowns and I just don't know what else to do. Well, here's the thing. Skull crushers done properly, and we have a video in the link for how to do them properly. Overhead extensions of various kinds and dips really crush your triceps, and you already know that cable pushdowns are part of this ingredients. The big thing here is range of motion. The triceps get really messed up if you fully lock out each rep And if you go all the way deep down, as low as they'll go to really get a maximum stretch on the tricep. If you get that big stretch, you go through a full range of motion, you get huge pump, super messed up, and really, really good growth. Frequency. How often do you train your triceps hard per week? Generally between 2 and 4 times a week. The triceps are not a super tiny muscle, and they do take on quite a bit of damage, so it's probably not a good idea to train it like 5 or 6 times a week. Probably won't recover fast enough, but you can train it up to 4 times a week and as little as 2 times a week if you have relatively big triceps. If they take longer to heal, then it's on the lower frequency side. Anything between 2 and 4, you're really splitting hairs if you think that's a big difference between those. Intensity. Here's the deal. The triceps have some fast twitch fibers in them, quite a few for some individuals. So you want to train them pretty heavy, but here's the thing. Heavy work for triceps fast twitch fibers is already accomplished through heavy pressing. You may already be doing shoulder presses for sets of 6 to 8. You may already be doing dumbbell or bench presses for 6 to 8. You don't need to do isolation work for the triceps super heavy because your presses should have already done that, which is why for triceps, anywhere between 8 and 20 reps per set is a really good range, sticking closer to 8 to 12 most of the time, occasionally going up as high as 20. That's where you get most of your growth. Variation. Generally speaking, you want to pick 2 to 4 exercises per week and structure them into your tricep workout. You don't want to have 5 exercises for triceps per every day because then you run out of variance, right? Eventually, you're just going to have you're going to run out of, you're going to have done every tricep exercise and it's only week 4. What do you do in week 6 of the program or week 12? Well, you're just going to have to stop training triceps or just put them on the back burner for a while. So by only picking 2 to 4 moves every week or every microcycle to do every week, so like for one mesocycle, you just do 2 to 4 moves, that really allows you to get really good effective work. And then later when you switch them, you can do, you have moves to go to. And how often do you switch them? Well, every 2 to 3 mesocycles, you should want to switch your tricep exercises. So what does that mean? That means that you pick, let's say, skull crushers, you pick overhead cable extensions and dips. You do those exercises for 3 months of training, basically 3 mesocycles. Every single one with the accumulation phase and a deload, accumulate, deload, accumulate, deload. After that, you can swap out all of the exercises or maybe just some of them with new exercises. That way you get to build a lot of momentum, but benefit from variation as well. Variation has another point. It says direction priority. Generally speaking, when training triceps, especially when you're more intermediate and advanced, you want to figure out, are you more or less training the parts of the triceps that are active, do skull crusher kind of motion or in a push down kind of motion, right? That generally tends to be the lateral head, for example. Or are you interested in training the long head mostly, which is involved in overhead tricep movements? What you basically want to do, especially if you're intermediate advanced, is spend a couple of mesocycles mostly doing overhead work and a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 exercises of overhead work and just 1 exercise of front pushing work, right? Skull crushers or push downs. And then after 2 or 3 months, switch the script, do mostly skull crushers and push downs and just a little bit of overhead work. That really overloads the parts of the tricep that you want to grow for some time, doesn't grow the other ones as much, and then you switch later and it basically keeps one level, grows one, keeps one level, grows one, and goes up and down like that, so that you basically used variation to your advantage and it's never stale. You're never just pounding away at the same structures all the time. It also reduces injury rates that way and reduces elbow discomfort. Periodization. Second to last concept. Generally speaking, like with much of our periodization, we're going to do 2 mesocycles of moderate weight and moderate sets on moderate volumes on the triceps, right? So we're basically going to do sets of 8 to 12. 2 in a row, trying to increase weights the entire time just by really small amounts. Then you want to do a metabolite mesocycle or something like that. Do a high volume, super high volume metabolite mesocycle, just 1, because that stuff doesn't tend to last. And then you're going to be very much resistant to hypertrophy after that. You're going to want to do a low period, low volume training, maybe sets of closer to 8. Maybe you're going to go down and do very little direct tricep work, just a maintenance mesocycle. A lot of times it's good if you do that for the rest of your body as well. Really resensitize your body and your muscles to hypertrophy and then start again on the moderate, high-low program. Lastly, special metabolite techniques. During that high volume training phase, a lot of times it's good to have special metabolite techniques to really sequester a whole lot of lactic acid and other ions and things like that in the muscle, which seems to promote hypertrophy. Good ways of doing that. Don't use this stuff all the time. I would recommend just using it during the super high volume phases. A great example of supersets. Triceps are one of the most supersetable muscles For example, an easy superset is any isolation movement with any related compound. The classic tricep superset is skull crushers supersetted to close grip bench. Another classic one is overhead extensions supersetted to shoulder presses. Or cable pushdowns, drop the pushdown handle, go down and do as many close grip push-ups as you can, or something like that. Great supersets, they work super well. You'll definitely feel, some people say my chest takes over, my shoulders take over. For presses, I really can't feel my triceps. After you burn out or close with an isolation, you will feel your triceps as the limiting factor in all of your close grip work. Drop sets are great, especially for pushdowns and things like that. You know, you do 150 pounds for 12 reps, get almost to failure, do 140 pounds for 6 reps or something like that, and keep going down. 3 or 4 sets of that later, you've got a really gnarly pump, tons of metabolites. And of course, giant sets, which work really well on something like skull crushers, for example. You set a certain weight on the bar, you say, I'm gonna get 60 total reps, stopping every set 1 or 2 reps short of failure and resting 45 seconds between each mini set. So maybe you get 15 reps on the first one, then 8 reps on the second one, then 7, then 6, then 6, then 5, all the way until you get 60 reps or something like that. It gives you a great total volume of work, so you make sure the volume's high enough, you're getting close to failure, which is good, and you're making sure that you're putting in really, really high quality work. Folks, give that some thought for tricep hypertrophy tips. If your triceps get too big on accident, you can blame me and file a lawsuit. We're accepting all comers. Thanks so much. See you guys next time.
As a PhD of sport physiology, a professor of nutrition, and the head science consultant for Renaissance Periodization, it was very important for me to be part of the design process of a supplement that I could really support, not only with the fact that it would be effective in the real world, but that it would be scientifically valid. When I helped as the main designer for the ingredients of Grind supplements, we made sure that all the supplements had only research-backed ingredients that definitely work, or definitely worth your money. There's no magic, there's no gimmicks, there's no bunk. I'm Dr. Mike Isertel, and I'm on my grind.